Cyprus became increasingly integrated into the wider Mediterranean world during this late Bronze Age. This was a period of extensive trade and international diplomacy. Cypriot pottery and other goods were widely distributed across the region. Cyprus was a major supplier of copper to the Mycenaean Greeks and was part of a cultural exchange network that included the Hittites, Egyptians, and Babylonians. These interactions likely influenced religious practices and beliefs, and during this time, the Greek goddess Aphrodite became prominent in Cypriot religion. Through the Iron Age and into the year 570 BCE, Cyprus was conquered by Egypt under Pharaoh Amasis II. This brief period of Egyptian domination left its influence mainly in the arts, especially sculptures, where the rigid and the dress of the Egyptian style can be observed. Cypriot artists later discarded this Egyptian style in favor of Greek prototypes. Statues in stone often show a mixture of Egyptian and Greek influence. In particular, ceramics recovered on Cyprus show influence from the ancient Minoans of Crete. Men often wore Egyptian wigs and Assyrian-style beards. Armor and dress showed Western Asiatic elements as well. During the classical period, Cyprus came under the influence of the Persian Empire and later the Greeks and Romans. Cypriot kings adopted Persian customs and religions while maintaining their Greek identity, and the island became a place where Western and Eastern cultures mixed. Cyprus was known as the birthplace of Aphrodite, and the Sanctuary of Aphrodite at Paphos became an important pilgrimage site, influencing religious practices across the entire world. Cyprus was part of the Byzantine Empire for many centuries and played a crucial role in the spread of Christianity in the Eastern Mediterranean. The island was a center of monasticism and produced significant religious figures and texts. Later, under the Venetian rule, Cyprus was a key player in the Crusades and a link between the Western Europe and Holy Land. Cyprus remained a place where different cultures and religions coexisted under Ottoman and British rule. Today, Cyprus is still divided between the Greek Cypriot South and Turkish Cypriot North, reflecting the island's complex history and its continued role as a meeting place of different cultures. They are now divided by the Greek Orthodox Christians and Sunni Islam. But long before these religions took root, Cyprus had its own religion, which influenced the broader Mediterranean world. Even Christianity and Islam borrow elements from the native religions of Cyprus. King David, Mary, and Jesus may have been influenced by the stories of King Cinyras, Mira, and Adonis. But before we explore these, first we need to examine what led up to the foundational myths of Cyprus. And this takes us back once again to the Bronze Age. In the Bronze Age, we begin to see an emergence of goddess figurines, often referred to as the Great Goddess or Mother Goddess, associated with fertility, agriculture, and nature. She is often depicted as a robust woman, sometimes pregnant with her hands on her hips. These terracotta figurines, known as plank figures, have been found in various sites across Cyprus. In the late Bronze Age, we start to see a goddess who would become a central figure in Cypriot religion, the Lady of Cyprus. She would later become identified with Aphrodite by the Greeks, but also as Astarte by the Phoenicians, due to her association with fertility, nature, and love. Similarly, male deities associated with war, death, and the underworld, the precursors to figures like Adonis, also appear to have been worshipped. Archaeological evidence from this time suggests that bulls, doves, and snakes were considered sacred and featured in religious practices, likely as symbols or avatars of particular deities. Bulls, for instance, are often associated with the virility and power, while snakes can symbolize rebirth and renewal due to their shedding skin. By the time of the Iron Age and the arrival of Greek colonists, these indigenous gods had largely been syncretized with the Greek pantheon. The Lady of Cyprus was fully identified with Aphrodite, while other local deities were recognized as Zeus, Hera, Dionysus, and so on. The Greek influence would shape the religious landscape of Cyprus for many centuries to come. Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of fertility, was widely worshipped throughout ancient Greece and Cyprus. Cyprus is traditionally considered one of the main centers of her worship and is also claimed to be the place of her birth. Pinpointing the exact date for when the worship of Aphrodite first began on Cyprus is challenging. It's likely that the goddess was introduced to the island by the Mycenaeans during the 12th and 11th centuries BCE. Aphrodite, as we know her from Greek mythology, is thought to have evolved from earlier goddesses of fertility, Eastern Mediterranean region. This earlier goddess is linked to the Phoenician goddess Astarte and the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar. When the Greeks settled on Cyprus, they may have identified this indigenous goddess with Aphrodite and adopted some of the local religious practices. The earliest inscriptions explicitly mentioning Aphrodite on Cyprus date to the first millennium BCE, after the island had come under significant Greek influence. Although the mother of Cyprus, the predecessor to this goddess, began much earlier. Cyprus, often referred to as the island of Aphrodite, due to its long association with this goddess. Aphrodite is said to have been born here from the sea foam near Cyprus after Kronos castrated his father Ouranos and threw his genitals into the sea. Aphrodite was then born from the sea foam that arose from this event. Sanctuaries and temples dedicated to Aphrodite have been found across the island. These often featured statues and images of the goddess, where devotees could leave offerings. Rituals associated with Aphrodite included the use of substances, potions, and communal orgies and feasts, sacrifices and prayers, and hymns to the goddess. The getting up at dawn and singing hymns to Aphrodite was a commonplace throughout Cyprus. Fertility rites, given Aphrodite's role as the fertility goddess, sacred prostitution, and other revelry rites were likely a part of her worship. One of the most significant sites of Aphrodite on Cyprus is the Sanctuary of Aphrodite at Paphos, Old Paphos. This was one of the most important religious centers in the entire ancient Greek world, and it remained an important pilgrimage site until it was shut down by Theodosius. It's notable that the cult image of Aphrodite at this site was not a human form, but an aniconic symbol, often described as a conical stone, suggesting a continuation of pre-Greek religious practices. Another significant site is Petra II Romeo, also known as Aphrodite's Rock, a sea stack located off the southern coast of Cyprus. This is traditionally considered to be her birthplace. The goddess's influence can be seen in numerous aspects of Cypriot history and culture, as she remains a symbol of the island to this day.